Welcome, gents. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it stands quietly, fully aware of what it can do. In today's topic, we're looking at two sides of the same rare breed, the Sigma male. Both versions carry depth, clarity, and self-mastery, but how they choose to carry their power makes all the difference. This discussion will be divided into two sections. First, we'll explore 6 ways the Sigma male who hides his power. Then we'll move into 6 ways the Sigma male who owns his power. Some Sigma males hide their strength, not because they're weak, but because they've seen how the world reacts when power isn't loud and predictable. They pull back to stay safe, stay quiet, or stay in control. But eventually, that kind of self-protection starts to shrink a man. It drains potential. It keeps him in the shadows of his own greatness. Then there's the Sigma male who steps into what he really is. He doesn't announce it, he doesn't perform, he just owns it. Quietly, consistently, fully. He doesn't hold back to make people comfortable. He doesn't wait for permission to lead, to create, or to shift the energy around him. He moves because he knows. If you've ever questioned whether your silence means you're being overlooked or if your intensity makes people uncomfortable, understand this. You're not here to be easy to digest. You're here to be undeniable. Whether you're hiding or owning your power, what matters is what you choose next. Because being a Sigma male means you were never meant to stay small. Stay with me until the end to find out which one shows up in you the most. Though in many cases, both are deeply connected. Let's get started, gents, with the Sigma male that seems hides his power. Number 1, he's a walking paradox. Sharp enough to lead, quiet enough to be overlooked. He's the kind of man people underestimate, until they realize too late who they were dealing with. He's sharp, observant, and always calculating. He could lead any room if he wanted to, but he rarely shows his full hand, not because he's afraid, not because he doubts himself, but because he knows how the world works. He knows people fear what they don't understand, and power that isn't flaunted is harder to predict. That's his advantage. He doesn't speak just to fill silence. He speaks when it matters, and when he does, people feel it. Not everyone gets him, that's fine. He's not here to be understood. He's here to move with precision and hit targets while others are still figuring out the game. Every step he takes has purpose behind it, even if it looks passive on the outside. This isn't humility. This is control. He knows that revealing too much too soon only invites judgment, noise, and distractions. So he keeps his brilliance in his back pocket and plays the long game. People might write him off, call him cold or detached, but they never forget him, and that's the key. He leaves a quiet impression that lasts longer than any loud entrance. He doesn't need to constantly prove himself. The results speak when he decides to move. Until then, he's watching, reading, measuring the weight of every word and every motive in the room. And when the time is right, when the mask slips and his true capability shows, it's always a shock. This is not weakness. This is design. It's the art of knowing when to stay in the shadows and when to step forward with fire in your eyes. He's not here to be everyone's favorite. He's here to play by a code most people can't even see. And when he finally moves, no one sees it coming, but everyone feels it. Number 2, he gives average energy on purpose. He knows exactly what he's capable of, but you'd never guess it at first glance. He gives off this calm, easygoing energy, never too much, never too little. It's intentional. He blends in just enough to be left alone, but never so much that he disappears completely. People think they've got him figured out. They don't. This isn't laziness. It's a calculated move. Giving too much of himself only brings more noise, more eyes, more people asking for pieces of him they don't deserve. He's seen what happens when others sense real strength. They either start demanding more or they start trying to tear you down. So instead, he keeps it low, neutral, unthreatening. Just enough to be respected, but not enough to be targeted. He could dominate the conversation, lead the team, flip the outcome of a situation without breaking a sweat. But he won't, unless it's necessary. He understands something most people miss. Power that's always on display becomes predictable, and predictable men are easier to control, so he stays unpredictable. Quiet, just slightly underestimated. What people don't realize is that he's constantly calculating in the background, reading the energy in the room, clocking who's honest, who's fake, and who's watching a little too closely. While others rush to show off, he lets them. He watches, waits, and keeps the full force of his strength tucked behind his calm expression. There's a kind of discipline in not showing off. It takes maturity to hold back when you know you could steal the spotlight at any time. But he's not here for attention. He's here for control, and by keeping his true power under wraps, he keeps the upper hand. One day, when it truly matters, he'll drop the mask, and the same people who overlooked him will wonder how they missed it. But by then, he'll already be 10 steps ahead. Number 3, he's addicted to anonymity. He doesn't crave the spotlight. In fact, he avoids it on purpose. The idea of being seen, fully seen, makes him uncomfortable. Not because he lacks confidence, but because he knows that attention often comes with strings. People want access, they want answers, they want to dissect and label what they don't understand. So instead of putting himself on display, he disappears on his own terms. He's addicted to anonymity, to being the mind behind the curtain rather than the face in front of it. He moves quietly, makes decisions behind closed doors, and lets others take the credit if that's what it takes to keep his freedom intact. It's not about being invisible, it's about being untouchable. The less people know, the more control he keeps. He could step forward, take the recognition, bask in the applause. But he knows how quickly admiration turns into expectation, and how easily those expectations turn into pressure. So he keeps his circle small, his motives private, his brilliance hidden behind layers that most people won't bother to peel back. He's not running from connection, he just prefers clarity. Surface-level interactions bore him. Shallow flattery irritates him. What excites him is impact, not attention. He's the one who builds quietly and lets the results speak for themselves. He doesn't need to be recognized in the moment. He'd rather be remembered when the dust settles and the noise fades. In every room he enters, he's watching, thinking, playing long games that no one even realizes are being played. While others are performing, he's building. While they chase approval, he stays rooted in his own code. He is the ghost with a loaded mind, the one who disappears until the outcome demands his presence. And when that moment comes, his influence is undeniable, even if his name is never mentioned. Number 4, he doesn't just hide, he withholds. And there's a big difference. Hiding looks like fear. Withholding is deliberate, it's control. He knows exactly what he's doing when he holds back in conversations, when he listens more than he speaks, when he lets others take the floor while he sits quietly, observing, calculating. Most people take his silence as passiveness. Some even think he's unsure or disengaged. That's their mistake. He removes just enough of himself to stay unreadable. You won't hear his full thoughts. You won't see the full extent of his discipline. He filters his words like a man who knows the value of silence. It's not that he lacks insight. On the contrary, his mind is often 10 steps ahead. He just understands that exposing too much only gives others material to misuse, misunderstand, or mimic. He's learned this through experience. The more you give, the more people think they know you. And once they think they know you, they start putting you in boxes, forming expectations and trying to play you. So now, he stays one layer beneath what people expect. He offers a slice of what he knows, not the whole cake. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't correct. He lets people underestimate him while quietly dissecting everything they say. He doesn't waste time proving how smart or capable he is. He lets results, patterns, and timing do the talking. That restraint, that's a sign of power, not weakness. It's a man who knows what he's holding back and why. He's not hiding because he lacks depth. He's withholding because not everyone deserves access to it. And when he finally decides to speak with full clarity or act with his full potential, the people around him realize they never really knew who he was. But by then he's already moved on, unbothered, ahead, always. Number 5, he often watches weaker men win louder. He often sits back and watches weaker men win louder, not because they're more capable, not because they're smarter, but because they've mastered the art of performing. They speak with volume, move with flash, and feed off attention like it's oxygen. Meanwhile, he stays silent, not because he lacks the power to dominate, but because he doesn't need the applause. It doesn't feed him. It doesn't move him. He lets them have their moments, their viral posts, their shallow praise, their temporary spotlight. He knows most of it is smoke, but still, something in him burns a little. Not with envy, he doesn't wish to be them. It's more like disgust. A quiet frustration at how easily the world confuses noise for substance. He's put in the work, long hours alone, deep thought, real discipline, but he doesn't shout about it, he doesn't market his struggle. And that's why the world sometimes overlooks him, because he doesn't package his value for mass appeal. He sees it clearly. The loud ones win because they sell better, not because they are better. They polish the surface and distract from the lack underneath. And while he could expose them, he doesn't. He just watches. He studies how illusions are built and how fast people fall for them. But deep down, there's a fire. Not one that makes him bitter, but one that keeps him sharp. That disgust he feels, he channels it. It reminds him why he plays a different game, one built on real skills, not smoke, on results, not reactions. He may not win the loud way, but when he moves, when he chooses to rise, his impact won't fade with the noise. It will echo in silence, solid, unshakable, real. Number 6. He moves like a man playing chess in a room full of checkers. He moves like a man playing chess in a room full of checkers. Everything about him is calculated, intentional. He sees the bigger picture before most people even realize a game is happening. While others rush to make obvious moves, he's already mapped 5 steps ahead, predicting reactions, measuring consequences, and quietly adjusting his next play. But here's the twist. He doesn't always take the win. Not because he can't, but because the win in its current form rarely excites him. Outmaneuvering people who don't even know what they're doing isn't satisfying. It's like watching a child play pretend with real weapons, loud, chaotic, and meaningless. So instead of asserting his dominance, he lets the game play out. He watches people posture. He watches them pretend they're in control, and sometimes he even lets them think they've won. Not out of kindness, but because he knows the victory is hollow. What's the point of proving something to people who can't grasp the depth of your strategy? It's not arrogance, it's boredom. He's not interested in showing off his ability. He's interested in a challenge, in truth, in depth. He's not the type to chase low-hanging wins or compete for validation. He only steps in fully when the game is worth his energy. But this restraint makes him dangerous, because when he does decide to play seriously, when he actually engages at full capacity, the entire landscape shifts. Suddenly, people realize the quiet one was the sharpest one in the room all along. Until then, he observes, patient, detached, focused not on the noise, but on the structure beneath it. Because while everyone else is playing for the moment, he's playing for the legacy. And that kind of vision isn't rushed, it's refined. Now let's move into the Sigma male who owns his power. Number 7, he's the storm and the shelter. The calm force you never see coming and the quiet strength you never forget. He's the type of man who can burn everything to the ground with a single decision, yet also be the one who builds something incredible from nothing. And the most powerful thing about him, he's unapologetic either way. He doesn't act out of emotion, he acts out of principle. If something threatens his peace, his values, or his purpose, he won't hesitate to cut it off. He won't explain, he won't argue. He'll simply disappear or dismantle whatever no longer aligns with his direction. And he'll do it with a level of clarity that unnerves people. Because most are used to hesitation. He doesn't have that problem, but it's not all fire. He can be the calm in the chaos too. The one who grounds people, builds systems, and protects what matters. He's not all destruction. He knows when to be the anchor and when to be the spark. That balance is what makes him different. He's not driven by mood, he's driven by mission. He can build an empire brick by brick alone if he has to, without needing praise or help. And if someone tries to break it, he won't panic. He'll rebuild or leave it behind and start something even better. That's how flexible he is. He's not attached to the structure. He's connected to the vision. You can't box him in. You can't guilt him into staying where he no longer thrives. He's not cold, but he's clear. And that kind of clarity scares people because once he sees the truth of a situation, there's no going back. He won't stay for comfort. He won't stay for appearances. He'll either elevate the space or exit it. That's what makes him rare. He is the storm when needed, but he can also be the shelter that holds everything together. And he does both without asking for permission. Number 8, he doesn't downplay himself to make others comfortable anymore. He used to. He used to bite his tongue, dim his insight, and hold back his full presence just to avoid making people feel small. But now, he's done with that game. He's tired of pretending that humble means hiding. He's learned that constantly shrinking himself to fit in doesn't make him kind, it makes him invisible. And worse, it keeps him stuck. For a long time, he thought staying low was the right thing to do. He thought that being unassuming would make him easier to accept. easier to like. But all it did was put him in rooms that didn't challenge him and around people who couldn't handle his truth. So now, he lets his strength take up space, not to impress, not to overpower, just to exist fully. He knows his thoughts are sharp. He knows his presence shifts the energy. He's aware that when he speaks honestly, it makes people uncomfortable, and that's exactly why he says what needs to be said. Not to stir drama, but to wake people up. The truth is, people who are uncomfortable with his confidence were never meant to walk with him in the first place. Real ones don't get offended when he rises. They get inspired. And he no longer wastes time trying to water himself down for people who only thrive in shallow conversations. He's not loud, but he's clear. He's not arrogant, but he refuses to act smaller just to protect someone else's ego. And when people ask why he's changed, he won't explain it. Because deep down they already know. They just never expected him to stop holding back. This is his season of showing up completely. No filters, no fake modesty. Just real power, fully present, not for attention, not for applause, but because he's finally tired of betraying himself. Number 9. He's not loud, but he's unmistakable. You might not notice him at first, but once you do, you can't unsee him. There's something about the way he carries himself that shifts the energy without saying a word. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to dominate conversations. His presence alone is enough. While others chase validation through noise, he relies on something much deeper, authentic presence. He doesn't need to prove who he is. He knows. And that quiet confidence is what sets him apart. He can be standing in the back saying nothing and still be the one everyone feels. That kind of power doesn't come from volume. It comes from knowing exactly who you are and not needing anyone else to confirm it. He doesn't walk around looking for attention. He moves with purpose, with clarity. Every step he takes, every look he gives is measured. He's calm, but never passive, still, but never stagnant. People feel his energy before they hear his voice, and it's not intimidation, it's gravity. He draws attention without asking for it, simply because he's not trying to be anything other than real. That's rare in a world where most people are performing, trying to impress or be liked. He's not interested in any of that. He's interested in truth, substance, and people sense that. You might not remember what everyone said in the room, but you'll remember him, the one who didn't need to talk over anyone, the one who made silence feel powerful, the one who proved that presence doesn't have to be loud to be unforgettable. He's not trying to be seen, but he always is. Because real power doesn't need a microphone, it just needs presence. Number 10, he operates without seeking permission. He doesn't wait to be invited or validated. If something needs to be done, he does it. If something is broken, he fixes it. If someone he cares about is in danger, he steps in, no questions, no delay. He doesn't look around for approval. He's already decided what's right. That decision alone is enough. He learned early that waiting often leads to nothing. Waiting for the green light, waiting to be chosen, waiting to be understood. All of it is just hesitation dressed up as politeness. And he's done playing that game because he's seen what hesitation costs. Opportunities vanish, momentum dies, confidence fades. And for what? To keep other people comfortable. He knows that if you want to build something that lasts, whether it's a life, a legacy, or a mindset, you can't wait for people to hand you permission. You have to claim it with quiet action, and that's what he does. Every day, he moves differently, not recklessly, but decisively. He doesn't need a round of applause to validate his choices. The work speaks, the impact echoes, and while others are still overthinking, still asking if they're allowed, he's already on step 3, laying the foundation for something no one else saw coming. When he sees something wrong, he doesn't hope someone else will fix it. He steps in. He corrects the path. He doesn't need credit, he needs results. To him, waiting is just another form of self-betrayal. A quiet way of saying, I don't trust myself yet. But he does trust himself, fully. And that's what makes him dangerous in all the right ways. He's not reckless. He's relentless. And when he moves, it's with a force that doesn't ask. It just arrives. He doesn't need permission. He is the permission. Number 11. He doesn't waste time trying to explain himself. He's past that phase. People can assume what they want, label him how they like, arrogant, cold, too intense. Let them. He's not here to be understood by everyone. He's here to move things. And that's exactly what he does. While others are stuck defending their image or justifying every decision, he lets the work speak. His results are loud enough. They enter the room before he does. They silence doubt. They make people rethink everything they once believed about him. He's not detached. He's just not distracted. He doesn't chase validation because he knows that opinions change, but real outcomes don't lie. You can't argue with consistency. You can't argue with transformation, and that's what he delivers. He could sit people down and explain the mindset behind his moves. He could tell them how much discipline, restraint, and vision it took to get where he is. But why should he? Most wouldn't get it. They're looking for charm, not depth, performance, not presence. So he keeps building, quietly, relentlessly, and the more they talk, the more he rises. That's the irony. They spend time analyzing him while he spends time outpacing them. Every time they question his silence, he answers with results. Every time they question his choices, he shows up with something solid, something that can't be faked. That's real power, not needing to explain your value because your impact does it for you, loudly, clearly, without asking for attention. Number 12, he's a mirror that shows people who they're not, and that's why they fear him. He's a mirror, one that doesn't flatter or soften the image. He reflects people back to themselves with unsettling clarity, and that's exactly why so many fear him. The Sigma male who truly owns his power doesn't try to blend in, smooth things over, or dilute his presence to make others feel better. He walks in full alignment with who he is, and that alone exposes everyone who isn't. He doesn't even have to speak for people to feel it. The way he moves, the way he thinks, the way he refuses to play by shallow rules, it all creates a silent pressure. Not because he's trying to dominate, but because his presence highlights everything false around him. He doesn't play pretend, and that makes those who do deeply uncomfortable. He doesn't need to call people out. He doesn't have to say, "You're not real." They feel it. Deep down, they sense it. That he sees through the performance, that he's not fooled by image, status, or inflated egos. He doesn't react to loud confidence. He watches it, measures it, weighs it against real substance, and most of the time it falls short. The strong respect him, even if they don't fully understand him. They nod, because they recognize something real. The fake ones, they squirm, they shift, they make excuses. And the weak ones, they vanish altogether. Not because he attacked them, but because they couldn't handle the truth he naturally brings to the surface. That's the power of a Sigma who owns his space. He doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. He is the proof. His life, his silence, his standards. All of it confronts people without a single word. And in a world full of masks, that kind of mirror is terrifying. In final words, the difference between staying hidden and standing tall isn't about ego, it's about alignment. Every Sigma male reaches a moment of truth, a point where he has to choose, stay quiet and protected, or stand firm and present. Hiding your power might feel safe for a while. It keeps the noise away. It gives you time to build in peace. But there comes a moment when silence turns into self-betrayal, when dimming your strength starts to feel more like shrinking than strategy. You are not wired like most people, and that's not a flaw, it's your foundation. You notice what others miss. You think before you speak. You don't need approval to move forward. That alone makes you rare. But being rare is not the goal. Being ready is. Ready to own your presence, ready to stop making yourself small to avoid discomfort, ready to lead even when no one claps. The Sigma who hides his power does it because he knows the weight of being seen. But the Sigma who owns it knows the cost of staying silent. One retreats to protect, the other steps up to impact. Both understand depth, but only one chooses to live it out loud, with discipline, with grace, and with zero need for recognition. So if you've been holding back, ask yourself this. Who does it serve when you play small? What do you lose every time you doubt what you already know? This world doesn't need more loud voices. It needs clear ones, grounded ones. Yours, you don't have to shout. You don't have to prove. You just have to stop hiding from yourself. Because once you own your power fully, not just in moments, but in how you live, everything changes. Quietly, permanently, on your terms. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.